The morning sun rose over the small-town hospital, casting a warm glow on its white walls. Inside, a young woman named Maria walked slowly through the doors, holding her stomach gently. She was in her 8th month of pregnancy, and every step felt heavy but full of hope. Beside her walked her husband Daniel, who carried a small bag of clothes and documents ready for any emergency. Maria had been feeling sharp pain since dawn. She believed it was time for a checkup to make sure the baby was safe. Daniel, always protective, refused to let her go alone. His steady hand stayed close to her arm, guiding her through the lobby. As they reached the reception desk, Maria gave a small smile, trying to hide her discomfort. The nurse at the counter noticed her pale face and quickly handed her a form to fill. Daniel wrote down the details since Maria was too weak to focus. Within minutes, they were directed toward the maternity section. The hallway smelled faintly of disinfectant, and the sound of shoes tapping on the floor echoed around them. Maria leaned against Daniel, whispering about her excitement to finally meet their baby soon. He listened closely, his eyes filled with warmth. When they entered the examination room, a tall doctor stood waiting. His name was Dr. Harris. His white coat was spotless. His glasses shone under the ceiling light, and his face carried a serious expression. At first glance, he looked professional and calm. But as he glanced at Maria, his expression shifted slightly. "Take a seat," Dr. Harris said in a flat tone, pointing toward the bed. Maria slowly climbed onto it, breathing deeply. Daniel stood close, gently patting her shoulder to reassure her. Dr. Harris asked questions about her health. Maria answered politely, though her voice trembled with pain. Daniel spoke too, explaining the morning's events and her condition. But instead of listening carefully, the doctor's tone grew sharper. "Why did you wait so long to come here?" he asked in a cold manner. "You should have been more responsible." Maria lowered her eyes, feeling uneasy. She wanted to say she had been careful, eating well and resting, but the pain made it hard to explain. Daniel frowned at the doctor's harsh tone but stayed calm for his wife's sake. Dr. Harris checked her pulse, then pressed on her stomach. Maria winced, gripping the sheets tightly. The doctor sighed, as if annoyed, and scribbled something in his notes. Daniel could sense the tension building in the room. He knew his wife needed kindness, not criticism. He leaned close to her, whispering soft words of comfort. She nodded, drawing strength from his calm presence. The doctor, however, continued in a strict voice. "You people never follow instructions properly. That's why complications happen." Maria's hands trembled as she heard those words. She felt small and embarrassed, though she had done her best to care for herself and the baby. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he chose not to argue yet. He knew Maria's health came first, and he wanted to keep her stress-free. A nurse entered with a file, interrupting the tense silence. She greeted Maria kindly and placed the file on the desk. Maria gave her a grateful smile, happy for even a small moment of kindness. As the doctor looked over the file, Daniel kept his focus on Maria. He wiped the sweat from her forehead and adjusted her pillow. "Everything will be fine," he whispered. "You are strong, and I am here with you." Those words brought comfort to Maria's heart. Her fear lessened and her breathing became steadier. She trusted her husband's strength more than anything. Though the doctor's attitude had left her shaken, she reminded herself that she was not alone. With Daniel beside her, she felt courage rising within. Whatever challenge came next, she believed they could face it together. The room grew quiet again, except for the beeping of a small monitor. The doctor prepared for further checks while Maria closed her eyes for a moment, imagining the little heartbeat inside her growing stronger with every second. Daniel held her hand firmly, ready for whatever was to come. Maria lay quietly on the bed, her breathing slow and uneven. Daniel kept his hand around hers, his eyes fixed on her face, watching every small change. He could see the worry in her eyes, even though she tried to hide it behind a soft smile. Dr. Harris walked back and forth across the room, flipping through the file. His footsteps sounded heavy against the floor. At times he would stop, glance at Maria, and then return to his papers. His silence made the room feel colder, as if comfort had been drained away. Finally, he placed the file on the desk and spoke. "You should have come earlier. I don't understand why people take their health so lightly. This kind of carelessness is the reason problems increase." Maria pressed her lips together. She wanted to explain that she had been careful, that Daniel had been reminding her daily to rest and eat well. But her voice felt weak, and her heart raced faster every time the doctor's words carried that sharp tone. Daniel shifted slightly, his hand squeezing hers in reassurance. He knew Maria was sensitive, and the doctor's harsh words were not helping. "We did come as soon as she felt pain," Daniel said softly. "We are not careless. We only wanted to be sure before troubling the hospital." Dr. Harris gave him a short glance but did not respond. Instead, he moved to the machine near the bed and began adjusting the settings. A faint buzzing filled the room as he prepared to check the baby's heartbeat. Maria's eyes widened with both fear and hope. She wanted to hear that sound, the proof that her child was safe. Daniel leaned close, whispering, "Stay calm. You will hear something beautiful." The doctor placed the device on her stomach. The room grew silent except for the faint static sound. Then slowly a soft rhythmic beat filled the air. Maria's eyes filled with tears of relief. Daniel smiled for the first time since entering the room, his face glowing with love and pride. "That's your baby," Daniel whispered. "Strong and healthy." For a moment, Maria forgot the pain and the cold words she had heard earlier. That sound was more powerful than anything else. It was the sound of life, the sound of her dream coming true. But just as peace began to fill her heart, Dr. Harris spoke again. "The heartbeat is fine, but you must understand things can change quickly. You should not expect sympathy if complications arise because of late decisions." Maria's tears of joy turned to unease again. Daniel's smile faded as he looked at the doctor. He did not like the way his wife was being spoken to. She was in pain, carrying new life, and she deserved encouragement, not blame. Still, Daniel kept his calm. He leaned closer to Maria, ignoring the doctor's tone, and continued to speak kindly to her. "Everything is fine for now. That's what matters. Just keep breathing slow, my love. You are doing well." The nurse, who had been standing quietly near the desk, finally stepped forward. She spoke gently. "You are doing great, Maria. Many mothers feel the same fear at this stage, but you are strong. Don't worry, we are here for you." Maria gave a weak but grateful smile. Those words were like a small light in the middle of a heavy storm. She whispered a thank you, and her shoulders relaxed a little. Daniel noticed how much difference kindness made. A single caring word from the nurse had brought more comfort to Maria than all of the doctor's long instructions. The nurse checked her blood pressure and wrote it down on the file. She turned to Daniel and said softly, "She just needs rest and steady care. You are already doing the right things for her." Daniel nodded, his heart warming at those words. He brushed Maria's hair back from her forehead and whispered again, "See, everything is under control. You only need to relax." Maria closed her eyes, letting his words sink in. She imagined holding her baby in her arms soon, and that thought gave her strength. The room was quiet again except for the steady sound of the monitor. Dr. Harris continued his checks, but Maria no longer focused on his voice. Her mind was fixed on her baby's heartbeat and her husband's steady presence beside her. Even though the doctor's coldness still lingered, Maria began to feel a spark of courage. She reminded herself that she was not weak. She was a mother carrying a new life, and no matter how hard the journey became, she would walk it with Daniel by her side. The sound of the baby's heartbeat still echoed in Maria's mind like a gentle song. It gave her hope, but her body was tired. She shifted carefully on the bed, her hands resting on her stomach as if protecting the little life inside. Daniel stood beside her, never letting go of her hand. Dr. Harris adjusted his glasses and began writing notes in the file again. His pen scratched across the paper quickly, his face serious. Every few seconds he glanced at Maria, but his eyes held no warmth. Instead of encouragement, his words returned to the same sharp tone. "You need to listen carefully," he said firmly. "If you want this delivery to go smoothly, you must follow instructions without question. Do not expect special attention. Others also come here with problems, and I cannot waste time repeating the same advice." Maria lowered her gaze. She wanted to do everything right. She wanted to be a good mother, but the way he spoke made her feel like a burden. She felt her throat tighten, but she kept silent, because she did not want to cause trouble. Daniel noticed her silence. He could see the small tremor in her lips, the way she bit them to stop herself from speaking. His heart ached seeing her treated this way. He wanted to defend her, but he also knew she needed peace, not arguments. For now, he kept his words inside, choosing instead to comfort her through gentle touches. The nurse walked back into the room with a tray of water and some supplies. She placed it on the table and smiled softly at Maria. "Here, have some water," she said kindly. Maria accepted the glass, sipping slowly. The cool water refreshed her dry throat and helped her calm down. Daniel whispered, "See, you are in good hands now. Just focus on yourself and the baby." The nurse checked Maria's blood pressure again. "It's a little high because of stress," she explained. "Try to relax. Breathe deeply. Your baby is fine, and that is what matters." Maria nodded slowly, feeling a bit calmer. She tried to follow the nurse's advice, inhaling and exhaling gently. She focused her thoughts on the small heartbeat she had heard earlier, reminding herself that her baby was strong. But the moment of peace did not last long. Dr. Harris suddenly looked up from his papers. "If you had been more disciplined, we would not be dealing with this stress now. Many mothers suffer because of poor choices. You should learn from that." His words felt heavy. Maria's eyes grew moist, though she tried to blink back the tears. She had done everything she could. She ate healthy food, rested as much as possible, and Daniel had cared for her every step of the way. Why did the doctor speak as if she had failed? Daniel's hands tightened around hers. He felt the sting of every harsh word. He wanted to stand up for her right then, but he took a slow breath. He knew the right moment would come. For now, his priority was keeping her steady. He leaned close and whispered in her ear, "Don't listen to those words. You have been careful every single day. I have seen it with my own eyes. You are strong and you are doing everything right. Do not doubt yourself." Maria looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. His words soothed the ache in her heart. Even if the doctor failed to see her efforts, Daniel's love reminded her that she was not alone. The nurse also noticed the tension and stepped closer to Maria. "Every mother carries worry," she said softly. "But remember, strength is not about what others say. It is about what you are living through. You are carrying life. That is no small thing." Maria smiled faintly at those words. The nurse's kindness wrapped around her like a blanket. For a moment, the heaviness in her chest eased. Dr. Harris, however, remained focused on his notes. He gave instructions quickly, telling the nurse to prepare certain tests. His tone was flat, without care for how Maria felt. But Daniel no longer paid attention to the doctor's voice. Instead, he stayed close to his wife, whispering encouragement and reminding her that she was loved. As the nurse began preparing equipment for the tests, Maria closed her eyes and imagined the future. She pictured herself holding her baby, with Daniel by her side, smiling proudly. That vision gave her courage. Though the doctor's words tried to bring her down, Maria realized something important. True comfort did not come from his cold instructions. It came from the love beside her, the soft whispers, the hand holding hers tightly, and the belief that together they would face whatever came next. And deep inside, Daniel knew that the time would soon arrive when he would have to step forward, not just as a husband, but as a protector. For now, he stayed patient, but his heart prepared for the moment when he would change everything. The nurse prepared the equipment quietly, placing each item neatly on the small steel table beside the bed. Her calm movements filled the room with a sense of order, but Maria still felt her chest tighten with unease. She glanced at Daniel, who gave her an encouraging smile, reminding her that she was not facing this alone. Dr. Harris moved closer with a clipboard in his hand. "We need to run some quick tests," he said in a firm voice. "It will not take long, but you must stay still." Maria nodded nervously. Daniel adjusted her pillow, helping her sit in a comfortable position. He whispered, "Just focus on your breathing. I will be right here." The nurse gently tied a band around Maria's arm to take her blood sample. Maria winced slightly at the prick of the needle, but Daniel held her other hand, steadying her. He spoke softly. "It is just for a moment. You are stronger than this." Once the blood was collected, the nurse placed it carefully in a small container and set it aside. She then prepared the machine to check the baby again. The rhythmic sound of the heartbeat returned, steady and strong. This brought a wave of relief over Maria. Daniel's eyes lit up as he listened. There it is again. Our little one is doing well, he said with a proud smile. Maria's lips curved into a faint smile, her fear softening. The sound of her child's heartbeat was like a shield, protecting her from every harsh word that had been spoken earlier. But the peace was short-lived. Dr. Harris glanced at the monitor and frowned. The heartbeat is normal for now, he said, but if stress continues like this, it can affect the baby. That is why I repeat, you must be more disciplined. Do not expect comfort when you fail to follow instructions. Maria's face fell. She felt her confidence slipping again. Her hands tightened around the bedsheet as if trying to hold herself together. Daniel's patience was thinning, but he forced himself to stay calm. He leaned close to her ear. Don't let those words touch your heart. Look at me. You are not failing. You are doing everything right. I know it because I have seen your effort every single day. Maria met his eyes, and his steady gaze gave her strength. The warmth in his voice melted the coldness that had filled the room. She nodded slowly, allowing his words to sink in. The nurse also noticed Maria's distress and quickly spoke up. The baby's heartbeat is strong. That means you have cared well for yourself. Please do not think otherwise. Her gentle tone eased Maria's nerves once more. As the nurse continued the checks, Daniel watched closely, his mind racing. He respected doctors, but he could not ignore the way this one spoke to his wife. He stayed quiet for now, but in his heart he was preparing himself. He knew that when the right moment arrived, he would not allow anyone to humiliate her again. After the tests were complete, the nurse cleaned up the area and gave Maria a blanket. Maria leaned back against the pillow, exhausted but calmer. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing slowly, while Daniel brushed her hair away from her face. You see, Daniel whispered, the baby is fine. That is all that matters. We are almost there. Maria opened her eyes again, her lips curving into a small smile. I just want the baby to be safe, she whispered back. And the baby will be safe, Daniel replied firmly. Because you are strong, and I will always protect you. Dr. Harris wrote more notes on his clipboard, his expression serious. We will wait for the test results, he said. If everything is fine, you can return home today. But you must be more careful. Next time, do not wait until the pain increases before coming. Maria simply nodded, too tired to respond. Daniel squeezed her hand, silently promising her that she would not have to face this kind of treatment much longer. The nurse dimmed the lights slightly so Maria could rest. The steady beeping of the monitor filled the quiet room, mixing with the soft hum of the machines. Daniel sat by her side, his hand never leaving hers. As Maria drifted into light sleep, Daniel kept watch. His thoughts were heavy, but his eyes remained steady. He knew the time was coming when he would need to speak up. He had stayed calm for Maria's sake, but his silence would not last forever. For now, he let her rest, but in his heart he prepared for the moment when he would change everything. The room was quiet except for the steady rhythm of the monitor. Maria rested with her eyes half closed, her hand still in Daniel's. Every now and then she moved slightly, trying to ease the pressure in her back. Daniel never left her side. His eyes stayed on her face, making sure she was comfortable. The nurse returned after some time with the test results in her hand. She gave Daniel a small smile and then handed the papers to Dr. Harris. The doctor adjusted his glasses, glanced through the numbers, and frowned as if he had discovered a problem. Maria's heart jumped, and she looked at Daniel nervously. Dr. Harris cleared his throat. The results are normal, he said slowly, but stress levels are a little high. That is expected in pregnancy, but it must be controlled. Otherwise, it can create difficulties. Maria let out a breath of relief. The most important part was that the results were normal. Daniel smiled softly and rubbed her hand. See, everything is fine. The baby is safe, he whispered. The nurse nodded in agreement. Your baby is healthy. You only need rest and less worry. But before Maria could feel at peace, the doctor added more words in his firm tone. Still, you need to understand something. If you had been more disciplined, even these stress levels would not be here. You must not repeat these mistakes. I do not have time for patients who ignore simple rules. Maria's relief began to fade. She lowered her eyes, her shoulders heavy with guilt that did not belong to her. She wanted to defend herself, to say she had done everything carefully, but her voice stayed locked inside her throat. Daniel felt anger rise inside him, but he kept it hidden behind a calm face. He leaned close to Maria and spoke softly. "Don't listen to that. You have done everything right. Look at the results, they are normal. That means you have been careful." Maria gave him a small nod, though her eyes still looked clouded with sadness. The nurse tried to add comfort too. "You are stronger than you think. Not every test result comes out this good. You should feel proud of yourself." Those words brought back a bit of color to Maria's face. She whispered a thank you to the nurse, her voice trembling but grateful. Daniel noticed again how kindness changed everything. A single gentle sentence could give Maria hope, while the doctor's cold tone pushed her deeper into fear. He decided silently that he would not allow this to continue much longer. Dr. Harris wrote more notes in the file, then turned back toward Maria and Daniel. "You may return home today, but only if you promise to follow instructions exactly. If you ignore them again, I cannot guarantee the safety of the baby. Do you understand?" Maria nodded quickly, though her lips trembled. Daniel tightened his hold on her hand and answered instead. "We understand. We will take care of everything." The doctor gave a short nod and stepped out of the room, leaving the nurse to finish the final checks. Once the door closed, Maria turned to Daniel with tears in her eyes. "Why does he speak to me like that?" she whispered. "I try so hard, but it feels like I've done something wrong." Daniel's heart broke hearing her words. He placed his hand gently on her cheek and looked into her eyes. "You have done nothing wrong," he said firmly. "You are the strongest person I know. You are carrying our baby with so much love. Do not let anyone make you doubt yourself." Maria blinked back tears, comforted by his steady voice. "I only want the baby to be safe," she whispered again. "And the baby will be safe," Daniel promised. "Because you are not alone. I am here, always." The nurse smiled softly at the sight of their bond. She finished her work and quietly left the room, giving them space. Maria leaned her head against Daniel's shoulder, closing her eyes. The exhaustion of the day pressed heavily on her, but his presence was enough to make her feel safe. Daniel stroked her hair gently, his mind already preparing for what might come next. He knew the doctor would return before they were allowed to leave. And when that moment came, Daniel decided he would not stay silent anymore. His wife deserved respect, and he was ready to make sure she received it. For now, he let her rest in peace, but his heart was firm. The time was close when everything would change. The soft hum of the monitors filled the room as Maria rested against the pillow, her eyes closed. Daniel sat beside her, gently holding her hand. For a moment, the room felt calm, as if the tension had disappeared, but both of them knew it was temporary. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, sharp and deliberate. Daniel's eyes immediately focused on the door as it opened. Dr. Harris walked in, clipboard in hand, with his usual serious expression. Maria tensed slightly, feeling her earlier fear rise again. "Are you ready to leave?" the doctor asked, his tone brisk. "I need to give final instructions before discharge." Maria nodded quietly, trying to focus on Daniel's presence rather than the coldness in the doctor's voice. She clutched Daniel's hand a little tighter, drawing strength from him. Dr. Harris looked over his notes and began speaking rapidly. "Follow all instructions. Do not miss any medication. Keep your activity limited. You must not allow yourself to become careless. These are serious matters. Complications can arise if you are not disciplined." Maria lowered her eyes, feeling the familiar weight of embarrassment and fear. She had been careful, but the doctor's words made her feel as though she had failed. Daniel's jaw tightened. He had been patient all day, keeping calm for Maria's sake, but now he felt a spark of anger rise inside him. He squeezed her hand gently, leaning closer so she could hear his voice. "Listen to me," he whispered softly. "You are doing everything right. None of what he says is true about your care. You are perfect for our baby." Maria's eyes met his, and for a moment she felt safe again. His words wrapped around her like a shield, keeping the doctor's harshness at bay. The doctor continued, unaware of the effect his words had on Maria. "Many mothers ignore these rules and then complain when problems arise. I do not have time to explain multiple times. You must follow instructions exactly. Do you understand?" Daniel's hand tightened on hers. He took a slow breath, feeling the right moment had come. He would not allow the humiliation to continue. His voice, calm but firm, cut through the tension in the room. "Yes, doctor," Daniel said clearly. "We understand your instructions, but I must say something. My wife has done everything right. She has followed every step, and she is a wonderful mother. I will not allow anyone to speak to her as if she is careless or failing." Maria's eyes widened at his words. She had not expected him to speak like that, yet she felt a surge of relief and pride. Daniel had taken her fear and turned it into strength. Dr. Harris looked at Daniel, his face showing surprise. He had not expected such firmness. Daniel continued, his voice unwavering. "She is carrying our baby with love and care. She deserves respect, not harsh words. You will speak to her with kindness, or we will take this matter further." The doctor paused, blinking. He glanced at Maria, who met his gaze with quiet dignity. Daniel's calm but firm stance made it clear that he would not back down. Dr. Harris cleared his throat, his tone softening slightly. "I understand," he said. "Your wife has been careful and the tests are normal. I apologize if my words caused stress." Maria's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of relief. She looked at Daniel, who smiled gently. His actions had turned the room from fear to safety in just moments. "You see," Daniel whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No one can make you feel small when we are together. You are strong, and I am proud of you." Maria leaned against him, her heart filled with gratitude. The tension that had followed them all day began to melt away. The monitors beeped steadily, and the room felt lighter. The nurse returned to give final instructions in a gentle tone. Maria listened carefully, but now she felt confident. She knew she had a partner who would protect her and their baby no matter what. Dr. Harris, now more cautious, finished his instructions politely. Maria and Daniel nodded. The doctor stepped back, giving a small nod of acknowledgement, and then left the room. As the door closed behind him, Maria let out a deep breath, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Daniel held her hand firmly and smiled. "Everything is going to be fine now," he said. "We faced it together." Maria smiled weakly but warmly, her heart calm. She had faced fear and harsh words all morning, but Daniel's love and courage had made all the difference. For the first time that day, she felt truly safe, knowing that together, they could overcome anything. The rest of the morning passed slowly, but the tension that had filled the room was now gone. Maria rested against the pillow, her hand in Daniel's, feeling safe for the first time that day. Every time she looked at him, she felt a wave of gratitude. His calm voice and firm support had changed everything. Soon the nurse returned with a small cart. "It is time to prepare for delivery," she said gently. Maria's stomach tightened with nervous excitement. She knew that the moment they had been waiting for was near. Daniel adjusted her pillow and took a deep breath. He would stay by her side every second. Maria squeezed his hand. "I am scared," she whispered softly. Daniel smiled and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I know," he said, "but we are together. I will not leave you alone. Our baby will be safe, and you are strong enough to do this." The nurse guided Maria slowly onto the delivery bed. Every step felt heavy, but Daniel's presence made it easier. He held her hand tightly, his eyes never leaving hers. The doctor, who had changed his attitude after Daniel's firm words, now spoke politely. "We are ready to begin. You are both doing great." Maria felt a wave of relief at his words. Even though the morning had been difficult, she knew she could trust them now. She focused on her breathing as the nurse prepared her. Daniel whispered softly, "Breathe with me, in and out slowly. We are almost there." Minutes passed, and Maria's anxiety rose with each contraction, but Daniel stayed calm, guiding her through each moment. "You are amazing," he said. "Look how strong you are. Our baby is almost here." The nurse smiled at Daniel. "You are a very caring husband," she said. "Your presence is helping her more than you know." Maria felt tears in her eyes again, but this time they were tears of hope. She drew strength from Daniel's words. She had been worried about the morning, about the doctor's words, and about everything that had made her feel small. But now she realized that with Daniel by her side, she could face anything. Hours seemed to pass quickly. The nurse and doctor guided Maria gently, giving instructions and encouragement. Daniel kept whispering to her, telling her how strong she was, reminding her of the baby's heartbeat and holding her hand through every moment of pain. Finally, the nurse looked at Daniel and smiled. "It is almost time. Are you ready?" Daniel nodded, swallowing his nerves. He held Maria's hand tightly, his eyes locked on hers. "We are ready," he said. "You are doing everything perfectly." Maria's face was wet with sweat, but her eyes shone with determination. She focused on Daniel's voice, on the love that surrounded her. Every fear she had felt earlier seemed far away now. Then after one final push, a soft cry filled the room. Maria's eyes widened and tears streamed down her face. Daniel's face lit up with joy as he looked at the tiny life in the nurse's arms. "It's a boy," the nurse said gently, placing the baby on Maria's chest. The little one blinked and moved slightly, healthy and strong. Maria held him close, feeling an overwhelming rush of love. Daniel leaned down, kissing Maria's forehead. "You did it," he said softly. "You are incredible." Maria smiled through her tears. "We did it," she whispered, her eyes on their baby. Together, the doctor, standing quietly to the side, nodded respectfully. "Congratulations," he said sincerely. "Both mother and baby are healthy. You should be very proud." Daniel held Maria and their baby close. "I am proud of you," he said. "And I am proud of our little one." For the first time that day, Maria felt completely safe and happy. All the fear, all the tension, all the harsh words from the morning had faded. What mattered was here in her arms, a healthy baby, a loving husband, and the knowledge that together they could face anything. Daniel whispered softly to Maria, "No one can ever make us feel small again. We have each other, and that is all that matters." Maria nodded, smiling through her tears. She had faced fear and humiliation, but love and courage had won. Their family was whole, and nothing could change that. The afternoon sun streamed softly through the hospital windows, casting a warm glow on Maria, Daniel, and their newborn son. Maria rested in the bed, holding the baby gently against her chest. His tiny fingers curled around hers, and his small, steady breathing filled her heart with love. Daniel sat beside them, his eyes full of pride and joy. After the delivery, the nurse had helped them prepare for discharge. Maria had changed into comfortable clothes, and the baby was wrapped snugly in a soft blanket. The room was quiet except for the occasional coo from the little one. It was a peaceful moment, a sharp contrast to the tension they had felt earlier that day. Daniel glanced at Maria, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Are you feeling okay?" he asked softly. Maria nodded, smiling weakly but warmly. "Yes," she said. "I feel tired but happy." "He is perfect." Daniel leaned closer, kissing her forehead. "He is, and you are too. You were amazing today." Maria's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of joy. She remembered the harsh words from the doctor earlier, the fear she had felt and the embarrassment that had weighed her down. But now none of that mattered. Daniel had stood by her, and their love had turned everything around. The doctor returned briefly with a final check. He smiled at Maria and the baby. "Both mother and baby are doing very well," he said. "Congratulations again. You should rest and enjoy these first moments at home." Maria smiled politely. "Thank you," she said softly, feeling a sense of relief. As the doctor left, Daniel gathered their things. He carried the baby carefully in his arms while Maria walked slowly beside him, leaning lightly on his shoulder. Together they moved toward the hospital exit, leaving behind the room that had held so much fear but also hope. Outside, the warm sunlight felt gentle on their faces. Daniel held the door open for Maria, then helped her step down onto the sidewalk. She looked at him and smiled, feeling safe in his presence. Their little boy stirred in Daniel's arms, looking around with wide, curious eyes. "Are you ready to go home?" Daniel asked softly, glancing at Maria. She nodded. "Yes, I can't wait to be home with him." They walked slowly to the car, Daniel keeping a careful watch on both Maria and the baby. Passers-by smiled as they saw the small family, the mother and father united, carrying their new life with love and care. Daniel felt a quiet pride. Today had been challenging, but it had shown him how strong Maria was, and how important it was to protect and support her always. As they reached the car, Daniel opened the door for Maria. "Sit comfortably," he said, helping her settle in the seat. Then he buckled the baby into a small car seat, making sure everything was safe. Maria watched him carefully, feeling a deep gratitude for his steady presence. Once everything was ready, Daniel got into the driver's seat. He glanced at Maria, holding her hand gently. "We did it," he said softly. "No one can take away this moment from us." Maria leaned her head against his shoulder. "I know," she whispered. "Thank you for standing by me. I couldn't have done it without you." Daniel smiled, squeezing her hand. "You don't need to thank me. We are a team, always, and today proved that. Nothing can break us." The car started moving slowly, carrying them away from the hospital and toward home. Maria gazed out the window, watching the world pass by. The bright sky, the gentle breeze, the feeling of freedom and relief, all of it made her heart light. Their baby stirred once, and Maria reached over to touch his tiny hand. Daniel glanced at them both, smiling. "Our family," he said quietly. "We will face everything together." Maria closed her eyes, feeling safe, loved, and proud. She had faced fear and humiliation, but the day had ended with joy, strength, and love. With Daniel by her side and their baby in her arms, she knew they were ready for everything life would bring. The car moved steadily through the streets, carrying the small family home. Sunlight filled the car, warm and gentle, as if celebrating their new beginning. Maria leaned back, breathing in deeply, feeling the soft weight of her baby and the solid comfort of Daniel beside her. It had been a long day, but the ending was perfect. Love had won, courage had shown, and together they had created a family stronger than fear or harsh words. Today they had not just survived, they had triumphed. And as the city passed by outside, Maria smiled, knowing that home, family, and love were all that truly mattered.